Hey, alright guys, Ashton here from iCanMed, and welcome to this video where we're going to go through one of the question types in decision making, and that's the flowcharts question types. Now you might know this as the syllogisms question types, but we call it the flowcharts question types because that's the technique that we use in order to answer this question. Okay, so decision making is different from verbal reasoning. It's split into very specific question types, which has very specific techniques in order to answer them. Okay, so hopefully with verbal reasoning, we've understood the importance of reading, but now with decision making, not only do you have to read the passage properly, you have to combine all the information together somehow and make more sense of it in order to answer the questions. And for the flowcharts question type, we do that by combining all the information into a flowchart. So this is how we do the question. Okay, so decision making is different from verbal reasoning. It's split into very specific question types, which has very specific techniques in order to answer them. Okay, so hopefully with verbal reasoning, we've understood the importance of reading, but now with decision making, not only do you have to read the passage properly, you have to combine all the information together somehow and make more sense of it in order to answer the questions. And for the flowcharts question type, we do that by combining all the information into a flowchart. So this is how we do the question. Now, in this question here, we can see the text is a lot shorter than in verbal reasoning. It's only 2.5 lines. But if you think that it is easier than verbal reasoning, it's not quite the case. It's still quite difficult. So you have to have very, very specific techniques in order to do this correct. Now, first of all, what is in a flowchart question type in this 2.5 or 2 and a bit sentence, 2 and a bit lines? You have to know that you are usually given only two things in flowcharts questions. Okay, and that is the categories for the flowcharts and the arrows in between the flowcharts. Okay, so we say every single part can be separated into a category or the arrows, which we call the relationships. Okay, so all of my passage, I need to realize, well, what's my category and what are my relationships? So if you take a look at the first sentence, it says, all educators who teach history also teach literature. Okay, so here, what are my categories? I have educators who teach history and educators who teach literature. So these are my two categories. So for the flowcharts question type, I represent that as a bubble. So my first bubble are those that teach history. Now, you don't have to write the whole group of words out. So instead of writing educators who teach history, I'll just write the word history to represent that bubble there. Okay, now the next bubble is the literature bubble. Okay, so this is my next category. So these are all the educators that teach literature. And that is my second bubble there. Now, what is the relationship between these two categories? The relationship word that we saw was this word here. All. Okay, so if I draw an arrow from history, because that was the first category mentioned, going to literature, that's where the second category was mentioned, you can see the arrowhead is always pointing towards the second category from the first category. And they have a relationship of all. So here you can see me write this relationship as a flowchart. All history educators also teach literature. Okay, so that's what this represents. You might ask, well, why do you bother drawing things into a flowchart? I mean, you can read that from that sentence, which is correct. However, you're going to have more than one relationship, usually in a flowcharts question. Okay, so the power of it comes in combining the next sentences onto this same flowchart. So when the next sentence says, some educators at the seminar taught history. So my first category is educators. Okay, my second category is history. So I have the history category already in my flowchart. So this extra information, I can use the same flowchart to just build up my content. So here I write seminar. And how is it related? It's related through the word some. So there we go. So here it's saying some educators at the seminar also taught history. And because we have the flowchart, I know everyone who teaches history also teaches literature. So there's also some people at the seminar who also teach literature. And that's how the flowchart works. Now be very careful because the flowchart is flowing in a single direction. You can't say it flows in a reverse direction. Like for example, all people who teach history also teach literature. Okay, you cannot say all people who teach literature will also teach history. Okay, it doesn't work the other way around because it's possible that it's only some of the literature people only teaching history, but all history people are teaching literature. So you have to be very careful of the reverse relationship when you're going against the arrow. All right, so the next sentence, no educators at the seminar taught Italian. So we already have seminar there. None of them taught Italian. So there is that bubble there. Okay, so very good. This no relationship though is a bit different from the rest because it is actually in two directions. Because if no people at the seminar taught Italian, it is also true that no Italians taught at the seminar. Okay, you cannot have any other relationship apart from a no. So that's the only bi-directional relationship. Okay, now the last sentence says all educators at the seminar held a master's degree and taught. Okay, so all educators at the seminar, so again, that's this bubble here, they had a master's degree and taught economics. So master's degree and they taught economics. That is my second bubble. So from the first bubble to my second bubble, it's connected with the word all. So that is the relationship that I write on the arrow. So you can see you only really have three major types of relationships: all, some, and none. Okay, so all means usually 100%. Okay, always 100%. No is 0%. And some is in between 100 and 0%. Okay, so that's what each of these words mean. Now, you haven't quite finished the question yet. All we've done is understood the information that was given to us. So here, I can see how all of my separate bubbles are connected to one another, which makes it a lot easier in answering the question. Because now when you're answering the question, you can just use your flowchart to see how things are related to one another, which makes it a lot quicker, okay, to conclude whether the statement is a yes or a no. Okay, so with flowcharts questions, you are always given 5 statements, and you're asked to put a yes or no for each of the statements. Now, a yes represents if the statement is conclusive, or another way to say that, is the statement true based on the information that's given in the passage, which is also in the flowchart. Now, a no statement is if the conclusion does not follow, and another way to say that is that if the statement is false, you put a no. But not just false. Okay, if the statement is you can't tell whether it's true or you can't tell whether it's false, then you put a no as well. Okay, so a no means that it may be true, it may be false, but you cannot conclusively say that it is true. Okay, that's when you put a no. Okay, and also you put it when it's false. Now, the 5 statements. Some educators who teach Italian do not hold a master's degree. Okay, so is this a yes or is this a no? Can you conclude this to be true? Okay, so what are my bubbles? Okay, my bubbles is Italian. So it's saying some educators who teach Italian, they do not hold a master's degree. They do not hold a master's degree. Okay, now, if I take a look at my flowchart, I know that none of the Italians went to the seminar had a master's degree. Okay, so none of the Italians that went to the seminar, so none of them went to the seminar, so hence they were not part of these people that had a master's degree. But what about the Italians that didn't go to the seminar? That's actually something where I do not have any information on. Okay, because I do not have any lines connecting Italian to master degrees and economics. So if I do not have any relationship between Italian and master's degree, then that means that it is inconclusive to make any conclusion to whether or not they have a master's degree. So hence, the answer is a no. So in order to conclude it to be a yes, I needed an arrow from here to here to say no, but that is not the case. Okay, I do not have any arrow, so I cannot conclusively say that all the Italians do not have a master's degree. All I can say is they definitely did not attend the seminar. All right, now the next one. Some educators teach both economics and literature. So did they teach both economics and literature? And they're connected through this seminar bubble. So all the people at the seminar taught economics. Okay, some of them teach history, so hence some of them also teach literature. So that means that economics and literature is connected. Okay, so it is connected through this way here, and it's because of the seminar. Since all of them have economics, so hence some of them will also teach literature. So this is a yes. Now the next line, some educators at the seminar taught literature. Okay, is that correct? Well, here are the people at the seminar. Some of them taught history, so these will continue to teach literature. So that is a yes. So that's pretty much the same as the previous statement. Okay, but the previous statement just added on that economics part. Okay, now the 4th statement, all educators who hold a master's degree teach literature. Is that correct? Okay, now this is incorrect because from this bridge here all the way to literature, there is this relationship which is a sum relationship. Okay, so this cuts off that all relationship. So because this is a sum, this implies that it's not going to be all of them. Remember, sum is less than 100%, more than 0%. Okay, so this means that not all of the people at the seminar will teach literature. So that's a no. Now for the last statement, all educators who hold a master's degree and teach history and also teach economics. So this is saying everyone here in economics and everyone here in history connected with an all relationship. And the answer is no. Again, it's because of this some relationship. And also you can't really go backwards from the all relationship down here as well. Okay, so but for the sum, again, it's telling us it's not going to be all of them. Okay, remember, sum is less than 100%, more than 0%. It is not all. Okay, so hence this is a no as well. Okay, so that's literally how you answer these questions. You go through each statement and then you look at your flowchart to see if the relationships support or contradict the actual statement or not. Okay, and if it supports it, then it is true. And if it doesn't support it, okay, so if it's contradicting it, or if we don't have enough information to conclude, like we need more arrows to connect the categories, then the answer would be a no, because it is not conclusive. So there we have it for the flowcharts question type. So in this one, you just have to be very particular in drawing your flowchart to make sure it's very detailed and it's having the correct categories and relationships. And then also checking your statements to see that the relationships and categories in the statements match your flowchart. Okay, so I hope that you've liked this video. If you do, make sure to check out the rest of our series in going through these practice questions and all the other question types.